Welcome to the Congregation Netivot Shalom Gabbai training. Let's get into the spirit of Torah. It is a tree of life for them who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. The reading of Torah is centuries old. Ezra opened the scroll in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people as he opened it. All the people stood up. Nehemiah 8:5. Ezra probably soon realized that he needed some help to orchestrate the proceedings, so the Gabbai was born. What is a Gabbai at Congregation Netivot Shalom? Gabbai, pluralized Gabbaim, is an Aramaic word for tax collector. Primarily, the Gabbai assists with the Torah Service. Tasks in other communities include making sure that all synagogue services run smoothly. It is an honor and a great responsibility to be the Gabbai or one of the Gabbaim in any community. Gabbai tip number 1. Gabbaim must ensure the Torah service runs smoothly. They need to be prepared and stay a step ahead of the proceedings. Who's who at the Bima? You will see from this diagram the placement of key individuals at the Bima. First, laner or Torah reader. They read one or more sections of the parsha or portion of the day from the Torah scroll using trope. Text is without vowels or punctuation. The Torah scroll is preset to the proper place in advance. Gabbai Rishon, or the calling Gabbai, distributes honors, calls up Aliyot and other honorees during the Torah reading, and manages the Torah service. Gabbai Sheni, or pointing Gabbai, monitors accuracy of the Torah reader and corrects readers in real time. Oleh, or Olim. The person called up to read the Torah blessing is known as the Oleh, or if there is more than one, Olim. This Oleh has finished her blessings. She stands next to the pointing Gabbai until the next Oleh, in this case the Maftir Aliyah, is done with his blessings. An Aliyah, from the Hebrew Aliyah, meaning to rise up or ascend, is the calling up of an individual or couple to the Bima to recite the blessings before and after the Torah reading. Olim are typically commemorating a special life cycle event or the memorial or yahrzeit of a family member. They also may be chosen from among those who arrive early to services. The Maftir. The Maftir Aliyah is given to the person who will be reading the Haftorah. That person may or may not read the Maftir section, which is the repeat of a portion of the 7th reading. Responsibilities. Everyone at the Bima has a unique responsibility as each section of the Torah is read. Gabbai tip number 2. Gabbaim must be aware of special events, liturgical nuances, and congregants' needs. The week before, check hebkel.com. Review the CNS online calendar and the United Synagogue Luach, a copy of which is located on the lectern near the Bima. Variations. Know what needs to be changed or announced, i.e., holiday, Birkat HaHodesh, or a special Maftir Haftorah, or the need for multiple Torahs to be read. Honorees. Anyone who requests an honor in advance asks Rabbi Levi, and she enters the name and honor into the document that allows it to show up on the Bima sheet. The Gabbai won't know the week before unless it's a big simcha like a bar or bat mitzvah. Simcha. If there is a simcha, the simcha coordinators and congregant family will check in with you regarding honors. They are often prearranged. A special list of simcha-associated honorees may be provided to you before the service, so you will not have to find as many regular congregants to fill the usual slots. Special events. Events are situations that require special prayers, honors, announcements, or aliyot. For example, a couple about to be married, which may be an aufruf, bar or bat mitzvah, parents naming a baby. Aliyah caveats. Who should not have an aliyah? An aliyah must not be offered to a non-Jewish person. A non-Jewish person may ascend the Bima to read an English prayer or to open the Ark. A Jewish person should not be offered an aliyah during the time that the person is in initial stages of mourning, such as Shiva and Shloshim. Two-person aliyah. We only give an aliyah to 2 people at the same time if there's a good reason for it. Couple at their aufruf, parents or grandparents at the bar bat mitzvah. Havruta pair that has just finished a book. A married couple when it's not a simcha during the Yamim Noraim, mostly for board members and their spouses. The following program, entitled How to Have an Aliyah, can be found in full on the Netivot Shalom website.
I'm the calling Gabbai. I'll call you up using your Hebrew name. I will either know the Hebrew name in advance, or I'll ask you as you're coming up, and then I'll repeat it.
I am the pointing Gabbai. I'm getting ready to check the reader as she reads Torah.
Shabbat Shalom. Can I offer you an Aliyah this morning?
Yes, thank you.
I have your name in the Rolodex as Reina Bat Tova. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I'll call you up for the first Aliyah. Here's a reminder card.
Thank you.
V'yazor v'yagein v'yoshil l'chol chachosim bo v'nomar
Amen.
Hakol halu l'godel Eloheinu t'no kavod b'torah ta'amod Rina bat tova harishona Baruch shenatan Torah li'amo Yisrael b'kedushato
Now the Torah reader will open the Torah and show the person having the Aliyah where in the Torah we will be reading. That person will then kiss the margin in the Torah closest to that place using the tzitzit of her talit. After that, the Torah will be closed and the Torah reader will step back. The person having the Aliyah will hold on to the Etz Chaim and say the first blessing. The calling Gabbai will show the person having the Aliyah where the blessing is in Hebrew and in English transliteration on the laminated card.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
After the Torah reader is done the reading, she will again show the person having the Aliyah where the end of the reading is with the Yad. You then kiss the margin nearest to that word with the tzitzit of your talit as you did before the reading. The Torah will be closed and you take hold of the Etz Chaim again while reciting the blessing for after the Torah reading. You can again lift the Etz Chaim slightly as you end the blessing. The calling Gabbai will show you the place on the laminated card that has the blessing for after the Torah reading in Hebrew and in transliteration.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Your Aliyah is over at that point, but you don't go back to your seat yet. To show a reluctance to leave the Torah, a person who has completed an Aliyah moves to the other side of the Torah reader. She stands between the Torah reader and the pointing Gabbai during the next person's Aliyah. Before moving to that position, it is customary to shake hands with the calling Gabbai and the Torah reader. They will say
Yashkoach.
to you, this is an idiom that is meant to say congratulations or job well done. In response, you can just smile and say thank you. Or if you want, you can reply Baruch tiyeh. This literally means blessed will you be, but it is a sort of idiom for and good things back to you as well. Now we will do all the things again with the second Aliyah.
Ya'amod Rachmiel.
Shlomo ben Melech v'Yehudi.
Rachmiel Shlomo ben Melech v'Yehudi la'aliyah sheni.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam netah b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
The second Aliyah moves to where the first Aliyah has been standing between the Torah reader and the pointing Gabbai. The two congregants shake hands, and the person with the first Aliyah leaves to return to her seat.
Before services, arrive a little early to give yourself enough time to get everything accomplished. The calling Gabbai selects the pointing Gabbai. Take a look at the review summary sheets. I have an arrow that's pointing to them on the slide. The calling Gabbai, with assistance from the pointing Gabbai as needed, must assign honors for Aliyot, Hagbah, which is to lift the Torah, Galila, to wrap the Torah, Peticha, opening the ark to a required, no assignment cards are associated with them, and I'll talk about that in a moment, extra Torah carriers for special occasions, such as Yizkor or during Birkat HaChodesh. The calling Gabbai, sometimes working in tandem with the pointing Gabbai, retrieves the honor assignment cards and Rolodex from the cabinet, which I have pointed at the blue arrow. They have to distribute honors well before the Torah service begins, preferably before the Shacharit Amidah. The Hagbah must be trained. Gabbai tip number 3. I will repeat, Hagbah must be trained. Torah service. The calling Gabbai orchestrates the Torah service. Ark openers take their positions. Torah service leader sings Ein Kamocha, page 168. Ark is opened at Vayihi Binsoa Haaron. At Latav ul Chaim, page 170, the leader approaches the ark and is handed the Torah scroll. The Torah service leader turns to face the congregation for the Shema, found on page 171. Processional. The processional occurs immediately following Gadlu, page 171. The Torah carrier service leader exits the bima to the right, followed by the rabbi. The Torah is carried counterclockwise along the outer aisle and up the middle. It is carried clockwise around the sanctuary and up the middle after the Torah reading and before it's put away. The pointing Gabbai prepares the bima table for the reading. Laminated brachot sheet is placed near the side where the olim will be standing. The portable lectern is removed and placed on one of the side chairs near the front row. Both Gabbaim have an open chumash and a tikkun if desired to follow along the reading. Preparing the Torah for the reading. As the Torah arrives at the bima, Gabbaim take it from the carrier to place it on the bima table. The Torah is held steady while the crown, cover, yod, and the breastplate are removed. The yod is placed on the reading table, and the crown, cover, wimple, and breastplate are stored on the stand next to the ark. The Torah is covered with the Torah cover. Pointing Gabbai then takes a position on the left side of the bima table, if your back is to the ark, and calling Gabbai occupies a similar position on the right side. The rabbi invites the congregation to be seated. Torah reading. The calling Gabbai announces the chapter, verse, and page of reading before each Aliyah. Calls each individual Olah to the bima per protocol. Assists the Olah if needed in ritual of kissing the scroll start spot. Ensures blessings are recited properly. Positions people on the bima. Ensures honorees have a kippah and a talit. Both Gabbaim follow the Torah reading. More on that later. The rabbi announces pages for the Haftorah. Absent a special event, Congregation Netivot Shalom does not make mishaberachs for individuals. It is done only for special occasions. The Hagbah chair brought to the front is returned. Your responsibilities are from the beginning of the service until the end of the Torah service. Once the Torah is returned, you are off duty and may sit down. Pictured here is the Gabbai sheet, which has all the necessary blessings. On the reverse side, you will find the blessings that are said after the Torah reading and before the maftir. Torah reading, pointing Gabbai, keeps track of where each reading begins and ends in the Torah scroll, directs the honorees to leave the bima at the appropriate time, shares responsibility with calling Gabbai for following the Torah reading. The Gabbaim must correct errors in pronunciation, but not trope, except if the sof pasuk isn't sung. Let's practice. The general pattern for calling people up to the Torah is to say the male's first name, followed by ben, or female's first name, followed by bat, and the father and mother's name. For example, Mordechai ben Natan veRuth, or Leah bat Meir v'Yocheved.
To begin the Torah service, Gabbai Rishon recites the following paragraph at the bottom of page 171. V'ya'azor v'yagin v'yoshia l'cho ha'chosim bo v'nomar amen ha'kol havu godel Eloheinu utnu chavod la'Torah ya'amod or ta'amod ben arbatz so-and-so la'aliyah harishona Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Together. Ve'atem hadavekim b'Adonai Elohechem chayim kulechem hayom.
The subsequent aliyot are called up as follows. Yamod Shlomo ben David v'Ruth la'aliyah hashniya. The subsequent aliyot have a similar pattern, but the sentences end in la'aliyah hashlishit, la'aliyah harvi'it, la'aliyah hachamishit, la'aliyah hashishit, and finally la'aliyah hashvi'it. After the seventh Torah reading, the calling Gabbai recites the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitgada v'yitgadash shemei rabba be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malhutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya yitbarach Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha v'richu le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimeru. Amen. After the Hatzi Kaddish, call up the maftir or maftirah. Yamod Mordechai ben Natan v'Ruth hamaftir, or Tamod Leah bat Meir v'Yocheved hamaftirah. After maftir, called the Hagba and Galila. Yamod hamagbia, Yamod hagolel, or for female, Ta'amod hamagbiha, Ta'amod hagolelet. Or you can call them both up in a more abbreviated way, such as Yamdu hamagbia v'hagolel or v'hagolelet. It is an honor and great responsibility to be a Gabbai in any Jewish community. Please join us. Thank you for watching our Gabbai training.